the lost gold emperor of Butuan. History tried to erase him. What if I told you that before Spain colonized the Philippines, there was a powerful kingdom so wealthy its rulers were buried in pure gold? A kingdom that traded with China, India, and Southeast Asian empires as equals. For centuries, this civilization was nearly erased from history books. This is the story of the Rajanate of Butuan and its mysterious gold-wrapped rulers. Leaders whose existence challenges everything we thought we knew about pre-colonial Philippine civilization. In 1989, treasure hunters in Butuan City made a discovery that shook the archaeological world. Golden death masks, golden sashes, and the remains of individuals wrapped entirely in gold, rulers entombed as golden emperors. Today we're uncovering the truth about the lost gold emperor of Butuan. The discovery. In 1989, workers in Barangay Libertad, Butuan City, struck something glittering in the soil. They thought they'd hit literal gold. What they'd actually found was an ancient burial site. The Philippine National Museum rushed archaeologists to the scene. What they uncovered was breathtaking. Golden death masks, intricate sashes, pectorals and ornaments, and, most strikingly, skeletal remains wrapped in gold sheets. These weren't just wealthy individuals. The sheer volume of gold and the ritual nature of the burial pointed to supreme leaders, rajas or datas of immense power. One burial stood out above the rest, so heavily adorned that archaeologists began calling the figure the Gold Emperor of Butuan. His identity remains a mystery to this day. The Rajanate of Butuan. To understand the Gold Emperor, you have to understand the kingdom he ruled. Long before the Spanish arrived in 1521, Butuan was a powerful maritime trading state in northeastern Mindanao. Chinese Song Dynasty records from the 10th and 11th centuries name Butuan, Butuan, or Putuan, as a tributary state sending diplomatic missions to the imperial court, starting around 1001 AD and continuing through the 11th century. But China wasn't the only partner. Indian beads, Chinese porcelain, Thai ceramics, and Vietnamese pottery found at Butuan sites point to a cosmopolitan trading hub, a crossroads between East and Southeast Asia. What made this possible? Geography and gold. Butuan sat along the Ogusan River, with access to Mindanao's interior and its gold mines. Master craftsmen there worked gold with remarkable precision, as the burial artifacts prove. The society was hierarchical, ruled by a Raja and his nobles. And the gold wasn't just wealth on display. In many ancient Southeast Asian cultures, gold symbolized divinity and immortality. Wrapping a ruler in it was meant to secure his place among the gods. The maritime power. Here's the part that should blow your mind. Butuan built ocean-going ships called Balangay, vessels capable of crossing thousands of miles of open water. In the 1970s, archaeologists found several of these boats buried along the Agusan River, not canoes, but sophisticated plank-built vessels roughly 15 meters long. Carbon dating places them between 320 and 1250 AD, making them some of the oldest watercraft ever found in Southeast Asia. They were built using edge-dowel construction, fitting planks together with wooden pegs. Over 1,000 years ago, sailors from Butuan were crossing the South China Sea on ships they built themselves, trading directly with Chinese emperors. Chinese records describe Butuan vessels arriving loaded with gold, pearls, tortoise shells and exotic woods, returning with porcelain, silk, and bronze. One 1003 AD account specifically mentions a Butuan embassy bringing tribute of gold and cloth. This wasn't a primitive society. It was a maritime power with the navigational skill and political organization to reach foreign courts thousands of miles from home. Why history forgot? So why didn't we learn any of this in school? When Spain arrived in 1521, it brought a colonial agenda that included rewriting history from a European lens. Pre-colonial Philippine knowledge was largely oral. Epics, songs, and traditions passed down through generations with only limited written trade records. Spanish colonizers discouraged native scripts like Baybayin, labeled traditional practices as paganism, and dismissed oral epics as myth. The resulting narrative, reinforced later under American rule and even in post-independence schooling, suggested Philippine civilization effectively began with colonization. Butuan's story was buried twice, once underground, and once in neglected Chinese archives no one had translated. It took 20th-century Filipino archaeologists, first the Balangay discoveries in the 1970s, then the gold burials in 1989, to start reversing that erasure. The emperor's identity. Who was the Gold Emperor? We may never know his name. Without the extensive court chronicles of China or Europe, what survives are fragments, artifacts, brief foreign records, and the burial itself. Many historians place the richest burials in Butuan's golden age, the 10th to 12th centuries, possibly even one of the Rajas who sent those diplomatic missions to China. The burial details are telling. Golden death masks may have preserved the ruler's likeness for the afterlife or marked his divine status. Golden sashes likely signified rank or spiritual protection. Ornaments shaped like flowers and animals, and gold sheets stamped with intricate designs show craftsmanship comparable to other great Southeast Asian kingdoms like Srivijaya or Majapahit. One theory holds that Butuan's elite blended ancestor worship with Hindu-Buddhist influence absorbed through trade. Gold, incorruptible and eternal, was the natural material to honor the divine dead. In the end, his name may matter less than what his existence proves. A wealthy, sophisticated, far-reaching Filipino civilization that predates colonization by centuries. This is really a story about memory and erasure, about how colonization conquers not just land, but history itself. For generations, Filipino children were taught their ancestors were uncivilized before colonizers arrived. But the gold of Butuan tells a different story, of kingdoms that commanded respect across Asia, ships that crossed oceans, and craftsmen whose work rivals anything from the ancient world. Today, the Butuan National Museum displays these artifacts, and replica Balangay boats have even been sailed to prove the seafaring skill of ancient Filipinos. There's a growing movement to reclaim pre-colonial history and teach it to the next generation. The Gold Emperor of Butuan may have been nearly erased, but his legacy survives in every gold ornament, every ancient boat hull, every old Chinese record that named his kingdom. He stands in for every pre-colonial Filipino ruler whose name we've lost, but whose achievements we're only now rediscovering. History tried to erase him. Gold doesn't corrode. Boats preserved in river clay don't disappear. And the truth has a way of surfacing, even after 1,000 years underground. The next time someone says, Philippine civilization began with colonization.
Before we go deeper, our goal on this video is to get 500 likes and share your reaction in the comments. Subscribe to the channel